Weekend Express. Time to take a look at the week that was in our week in review as we analyze the top stories that have made headlines in the political scene this week. We'll also be taking a look at what's making headlines on the dailies this morning. But before we get into that, let me introduce my panelists here in studio. And I have Nelson Harvey, who is a lawyer, joining us every Saturday here on Weekend Express. I also have political strategist Peter Amunga, and last but not least, Ruben Dolo, who is an independent candidate for the Makadara parliamentary seat. Gentlemen, many thanks for joining us in studio.
Thank you.
So let's begin with, first of all, a look at what's making headlines on the dailies this morning before we get to the bigger stories of the week. And let's begin with the Saturday Standard. On the front page there, while Raila's Tanzania link worries Jubilee. And so it turns out that as NASA's high-tech centers spanning 3 countries are finalized, and IBC and Jubilee continue to put final touches on theirs, Raila's alliance with Tanzania seems to be causing jitters. And that's a report that goes on page 4 and 5 of the paper here. And as it turns out, there are fears that releasing parallel results will compromise the electoral process. This is something that we've seen taking center stage for quite a while. We've seen the government even caution the media against announcing their results before IBC does so. Let me begin with you, Amunga, as to the controversy of releasing parallel results. Does it hold any water?
Of course it does. From the point of view of for example, the acting CS for security, Fred Matiang'i. Matiang'i says Kenya is not a banana republic. Kenya is a country that is governed by laws. And so we expect everything that is done in this country to be done in accordance with the law. And what does the law say? What does the law say about the electoral process and everything that goes with it? If everybody was to set up a tallying center, if Jubilee also was to announce that they're also having theirs in, say, Israel or in China or wherever, and Okuro Kot also said he has also a tallying center in Malaysia, and the other guy also says he has another tally, it will become confusion. We have to respect our institutional bodies, the ones that we have embedded in our constitution. We have to give them the mandate. We have to have faith in them so that we see them produce for us something that is acceptable to all.
But the question is, even as I come to you, Nelson, what is the problem with having parallel results if at the end of the day, everybody's announcing the same results that were deemed as final at the constituency level?
Well, the question that needs to be asked is why is there so much resistance to this parallel tallying center? Because there's nothing quite hideous or what need not to be disclosed to the public about the authenticity of the results. And to the extent that IBC is the oversight body, it does not mean that the players within that contest have no right to do what we call self-assessment. In essence, they want to verify. They want to be able to audit the final result. How can you audit a final result if you don't have your own set of results? So to that extent, therefore, I don't see any lack of bona fides in any of these candidates having their tallying center. And the continuous worry that appears to come from the part of IBC or anybody associated with it may be an indicator that they want to do something that doesn't need to be audited or verified by a third party.
I don't know what your thoughts are this, Mheshimiwa Ndolo, especially the fact that Kenyans are being asked to let IEBC, which is the poll body, carry out its mandate of even protecting the votes. Is there any need, in your view, to have parallel tallying centers?
Well, I think our new constitution, which came out in 2010, gave us a lot of ways on how we can govern ourselves. And I think the IBC had already given NASA the go-away on how to put themselves on that issue. However, what I'll say is that it depends on how the results are going to be announced on either sides. If the tallying center maybe, which I can see NASA has put in Tanzania, and maybe Jubilee also we have here, the IBC. So to me, it's all about how we are going to conduct ourselves properly well in this general election.
But even as that continues, of course, we've had calls from various political candidates that they will be doing their best to protect their vote. And that means, even as we saw from the political party primaries, many of them having agents at the polling stations to guard their vote. Something that CS Fred Matiang'i has also rubbished. That is the adopt a polling station strategy, which NASA has been saying for the longest time they will be doing. They've also asked their supporters not to go home after casting their vote and to remain back and guard their votes. I don't know what legal standing this has, Wakili Harvey, and you know, the fact that Matiang'i has rubbished this, is it simply signaling another contention between NASA and the government now?
In law, what is not precluded is permissible. There is no preclusion in the law that you cannot adopt a poll in the manner in which NASA has said it will want to adopt. And I think it's for obvious, sensible reasons. In your home, of course, you'll have a fence at the gate. Why do you maintain a fence at the gate? Because you need to guide yourself, notwithstanding the fact that the overall role of ensuring that you stay safe in your house is the role of the state. But this is an extra caution. And this extra caution is informed by previous events where, on account of failure to maintain your own personal vigilance and oversight, an election has been stolen. So to that extent, and so far as there is no legal bar in people adopting a poll and maintaining vigil, I think what Matiang'i says may be his own personal view. It cannot be sustained on the basis of any law.
I think at the end of the day, the call is to have peace, even at the end of the elections. And there's been, especially from the Jubilee side, that particular strategy of adopting a polling station would then cause chaos if at all there was any different results.
Honestly, where have we seen that even in the world? We see elections even in America, in the US, everywhere. Once you vote, you go home and wait for the results. What I can say here is this, and I agree wholesale with Fred Matiang'i. When you talk about adopt, first of all, define the word adopt. Adopt a child, adopt a light. I used to hear something like that. Adopt a polling station. Adopt simply seems to mean something like you own it, you make it yours, you sponsor it, you take care of all the bills. Are these guys who are talking about adopting a polling station talking about paying the bills for the people who will be there? How are we going to identify them? If we were to have 100 people come into a room like this one, and all of them want to make a statement, how will I run? I'm a teacher. As I teach in my class, I expect the parents to have confidence in me that I'm doing my work in class. I don't expect parents on the windows around the classroom watching to see how is Mwalimu Amunga teaching his class. And that is exactly what Fred Matiang'i is saying. We cannot allow every Tom, Dick, and Harry enter a polling station unidentified with no role. Just their role is just to hang around. And they say the devil, an idle mind is the workshop of the devil? And what is the devil? The devil is lack of peace, lack of all confusion, all manner of confusion will arise. So that's what I can say, that Matiang'i is right. We must respect our independent constitutional bodies. IEBC is one, and we must allow the police and our security forces to secure the votes, both for the Jubilee people and for the NASA people.
Your thoughts on this, Ndolo? Do you agree with Matiang'i? Even drawing from what we saw during the party primaries, we had several aspirants who had agents at the polling stations guarding their votes, and in several instances, that did not go very well.
Well, I think, Michelle, it all depends on how organized IBC is going to do on that day. To me, adopt a polling station has been there before, and even now, if you look at how sometimes we do ourselves in this country, we have so many people surrounding, being around that polling station all the time. Some of them waiting for maybe a candidate to come and give them something. Idle people moving around there. That one cannot come out of it, definitely. But however, on this issue of NASA saying that adopt a polling station with five people at a polling station, it also depends on how IBC will allow that issue of NASA coming out with that system. And as I've said, It all depends on how we are going to organize ourselves in the general election.
Right.
It's not the end of the life. This is what people should know about this country. It's not the end of our life. It's about how we are going to conduct ourselves.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. I'd like us to move to something else on page 23 of the Standard newspaper. And this is something that seems to be a win on the part of the IEBC. NASA loses bid to block manual backup system. And so this is one of the judgments that the court has made this week. We've seen calls by NASA seemingly forcing IEBC to adopt an electronic backup system in case the system fails on the 8th of August. And so we've seen the court now well, rubbish that claim, so to speak, and it's been termed as a win for IEBC. Your thoughts on this, Wakili Havi?
Well, now this particular case, I think, in my view, has been misreported. What NASA went to court to seek was a request that, to the extent that IEBC has not put up an elaborate regulatory mechanism to enable a manual backup, then the election be conducted solely on an electronic system. Now, it was not the request of NASA to postpone the election in the event that that system will not be adopted. In my view, there are so many gains that were made in the Constitution that have been eroded through legislation and regulation. And the reason as to why there ought to be an electronic voter system is to be in tandem with the development that are currently in the world to ensure fidelity and accountability of any result. But in my honest view, I do not think it's a big setback to whoever went to court. Neither do I see it as a big gain on the part of IEBC, because in the final analysis, there will be trouble arising out of this electoral process. Then the person who will rule this day will be IEBC itself. It will have been much better if elaborate mechanisms to ensure that a backup system is there in the manner intended in the electoral process was there. So it is not a win, it's not a loss.
Right.
I think it's a lacuna that has been perpetuated.
Amunga.
Yes, and that's why I really differ with my friend Wakili, because it's obvious. When you go to court seeking some orders, you know, you want them to favor you. And that's what I think NASA did. They went to court to ask for some orders to be given to them. They wanted that if this biometric, and that is even what they said, if these biometrics fail, then even on the date of the election, then the election should be stopped and be postponed. That's what their words are. And I think I've read that, whatever they said. And it's not a win even for Jubilee, it's a win for Kenya. Kenyans, even members of NASA, I read on social media and everywhere, they were glad that this thing, they want some peace. They want to go to this election. They want this thing to end. We want to go back to our lives. We don't want to go. Kenya is not a country of campaigning every day, going to court, playing court games every day. We are a country that needs to move ahead. We cannot keep on electioneering and campaigning every night, every day of our lives.
Right.
And that is the whole cry about Kenyans. Kenyans who are watching us tonight or this morning want these politicians, my brother Ruben Dolo Mweshimiwa, we want you politicians to finish your game by August 8th so that you leave us to do our things. We want to run our economy. We want to run our schools. We want to keep this country moving. This is games. And this kind of games, thank you, the court, the judiciary, for giving us peace on this matter.
And of course, the question as to whether we will have an election on the 8th of August seems to have been put to rest by the Court of Appeal, while also giving the ruling on the presidential ballot printing, giving that particular tender to Al Ghurair, upholding several decisions, that were made by the IEBC. Your thoughts on this, Ndolo, especially in the manner with which the judiciary conducted itself in finding a solution in the stalemate?
Well, I think, Michelle, to me, the judiciary played their card well, and because they want to serve this country, this nation. And, according to what Amunga said, Kenyans want to move forward. And definitely that judgment, NASA has not come out saying that we are not going to agree with that judgment. You can see they've kept quiet. They know that we have to move forward. And I a bit disagree with what Amunga is insisting about whatever the politicians or what I mean the other side on this issue of the case came out from. But I think they have their democratic right to go to the court and decide and question about the system. We want proper and fair election for this nation. That's what we are looking for. And for the judgment, which of course came out on Al-Ghurair, to me, I think let us move forward as Kenyans, and we see who's going to be the winner on the 8th of August.
Right. Of course, with that being said, even with the Al-Ghurair tender, Nelson, we kept saying that the perception had already been created as to the allegations by the opposition that there was close links between the directors of Al-Ghurair and top cadres of the presidency, including President Uhuru Kenyatta. An allegation that the court has seemingly come out and rubbished, saying that NASA was only going on allegations of fake news and newspaper cuttings, but still on the basis of perception. How do you think this is likely to play out?
Now, the taint that was created out of the alleged incestuous relationship between Al-Ghurair's owners and certain key elements within the Jubilee administration is one that cannot be sanitized through the legal process. It is just that, because if we claim that, look, there is a relationship that cannot be understood, and the court rubbishes that on the basis of the fact that evidence put forth only related to newspaper cuttings. And to a large extent, let me hold the judiciary a little bit accountable. You cannot just rubbish a newspaper. It's a gazetted newspaper. It contains news. In fact, even court processes on their own are always served through the newspaper. So unless there is credible reasons to indicate lack of authenticity in a story in a newspaper, then it cannot be rubbished as newspaper cuttings.
Right.
Now, over and above that, both the High Court and the Court of Appeal holds a measure of liability in not handling this matter appropriately. I think the main threshold set out under the Constitution as regards procurement is that it must be competitive. In fact, the final closure phrases of Article 227 is that the procurement must be fair, it must be effective, it must be competitive, and it must be cost-effective. Now, there is no way you can justify a section of a statute or a regulation as one warranting the IEBC undertaking a direct procurement. In my view, a direct procurement is unconstitutional. It's not provided for in the Constitution. In fact, the Constitution has said categorically the procurement must be competitive. And if you procure directly, where is the competition? So that the courts, on account of expediency of time, decided to sacrifice a key requirement that is supposed to sanitize a public process just on account of time constraints. But I don't think this is an issue that we should dwell upon with a lot of lamentation. It's been done. Perhaps that issue may be taken progressively to ensure that in future procurements, then things of this kind do not happen.
All right. Amunga, your thoughts on the Al-Ghurair?
Yes, of course, what he's saying, I think now we've actually moved on. We have moved on. Al-Ghurair, those were the normal shenanigans by the politicians. We call them drama. We thank God the courts have seen the sense to give Kenyans a go-ahead that we go to this election. Al-Ghurair, as the deputy president said, and in one way or another, I may agree with him on this. He said whatever they'll be printed, Kenyans want an election. I like what Mwalimu Abduba Dida said. Abduba said, Kenyans, sisi saa zingine ni kichwa ngumu. Kichwa ngumu, he meant sometimes we just want to be hard-headed. Simple things like just who has printed a paper like this one should not give us sleepless nights. Should not make us fight in court and spend so much money on lawyers. Sorry, Wakili, but it's like lawyers make a lot of money from...
Lawyers have to eat also. What do you want to actually do?
we are giving this guy so much money for nothing. You know, we are arguing over small issues like who prints what, who printed what. Abdiba said, even give him an extra his book, he can print names, Mheshimiwa Ndolo, Amunga there, and people go up and vote. At the end of the day, it is not, those dramas are not what's going to vote.
To move this country forward.
Yes, this country moves forward because of ideologies, our constitution, and the fact of Kenyans are hardworking people. Kenyans are survivors. Kenyans are people who have gone through a lot of things and they've come out successfully.
Right.
And we are going to go through this 8th August strong and a better nation.
With everything seemingly, ready to go, signaling that there will be elections on the 8th of August. The presidential ballot papers will be printed. We've had the integrated electronic management system, which has been upheld by the court. It's just 16 days to go to the election. Let's move on to page 16 of the paper of the Standard before we move on to the Nation. And the headline here is, let the media project the tally of poll results. So this is another debate on whether the media should or should not tally, and ultimately whether they should make their tally results public, project them, timely results as they come in. And this is something that has been making headlines because the media did receive a directive from the government not to make their results public before the IEBC does. And there's been a lot of questions as to why. Let me begin with you, Mheshimiwa Ndolo. Do you think the media should be let to publicize their results?
Well, if we have given a go-ahead, although I know, according to IBC themselves, they've said they cannot announce before IBC announced the results. But still, the media can get the information even before IBC gets the information. I know the media has got their own way of how to get all those information on everywhere because they have the people, they have the machinery down there. And to me, it depends on how also the media is going to behave. Some of our media, maybe people fear about what's going on. They might say, oh, this media is politically in this country, we like having rumors all the time that, this media is pro somewhere or it's pro NASA or pro whatever. But I think I know the media has got all that way of how to behave themselves. They know the repercussion if they are not going to bring, because we want this nation to prosper. All these people, whatever is happening now, all these leaders are the same. We are the same. We know each other. I know each and everybody. I've worked with them. I know President Uhuru very well. Yes. I know the former Prime Minister Raila very well. I know the Deputy President very well. I know all these people, and they are friends. So let what Amunga said, let this nation move forward. We don't want people to put us where we don't want to go.
Nelson, where do you think the role of the media should be in this election? Playing a very critical watchdog role on behalf of society.
The directive that may have been given to the media, in my honest opinion, is self-defeatist. The reasons are quite obvious. What is it that the media relays to the public? Is it not that which is received at the tallying center sequentially? And if we look at the events, let's look at 2007, let's look at 2013. What the media used to relay to the public were the results as they sequentially streamed in and as they were announced by the commissioners. I do not see anything wrong in that. But to the extent that somebody will say, we don't want the media to announce the results before we announce the results, where are they going to announce the results if not in an open place where the media has access so that the people are informed? And look at 2007, December. What happened? The results were streaming in as they were being read by the commissioners. Right. And then at one point in time when there was a big commotion between Honorable Martha Karua and Honorable Anyang' Nyong'o, all of a sudden we saw the JSU stream into KICC. The cameras went off. We were not able to see any transmission for about 4 hours. Then we woke up in the morning and we were told Kibaki has been sworn in as the president. Now, that is exactly what the Kriegler Commission said should never happen. Let the entire conduct of the election be held in the open. So in my view, I do not see anything wrong in a media house streaming results as and when they are received from their respective polling stations or constituencies, because that is essentially the only avenue through which IBC can communicate results. Otherwise, how else can they communicate results? Do they have a television station? Do they have a radio station? Yeah. Or do they indicate that they'll be streaming the results through Twitter and Facebook? we will be happy to see that.
Right.
Yes, you know what Wakil is saying is in an ideal situation, which doesn't even exist even in America. We are living in a world of fake news. The other day, a report was released in this country where 85% of Kenyans are fed on fake news every morning. We wake up, I don't know, this morning I've not read, but the other weekend I woke up to read that my favorite presenter, Leonard Mambo Mbotela, is dead. You know, these are the news we get from some of these media outlets. You call them social media, electronic media, whatever media. The word media right now has reached a place whereby we are hearing something called fake news. So we cannot trust everything that comes from a news room.
Right.
Because some of it could be doctored, some could be edited, some could be favored, biased to favor
Then,
another
Amunga, if
candidate.
that is the case, then nobody should be listening to what you're saying, because this is a media house.
No.
Well, he does have a point, Wakili. You know, in terms of really just drawing the line between what is fake news and what is not, where then where do we begin 16 days
That
ago?
is the question. Where do we start knowing that now KTN has given us the right news? Because KTN will report this, and another media house may report a bit slightly different. Now, you as the listener, will you believe what KTN has said or the other media house has said? So, and that is the whole question. And that is why let our Kenyans, and I'm talking to Kenyans mainly, let us reach a place whereby we allow our commissions, even CNN. I saw when the presidential American Trump and Clinton was going on, every time they were having their, whatever we're having on our ears here, and they were waiting to hear, and they will say, you'll hear him, is it Wolf? That guy is called who? He'll say, I'm just waiting for confirmation. He was waiting from the Electoral Commission or whatever to declare Trump the winner. As much as they were live throughout, CNN was live throughout the election in the US, but they did not announce Trump the winner until they got a confirmation from the tallying center.
Right.
And that is what we want. Media houses have not been gagged. They're only saying, media houses, let us give you the news, then you pass the news. Don't fetch the news, then you start giving them the news.
Right.
Wait from us, we give you the news, and you do what? You spread the news to the country.
All right, let's move on to the Nation now and take a look at what's making headlines on the Saturday Nation. And on the front page there, Uhuru and Raila set for dash to the finish line. So rivals prepare for advertising battles with only 2 weeks to the end of the official campaign period to be concluded with major rallies meant for a show of might in the city. So of course we have pictures there on the front page of the different rallies there with Jubilee carrying out its rallies as well as NASA there. That story continues on page 4 of the paper. So we're seeing new tactics in the tough race for State House. But something that has been making headlines with these campaign tactics is whether or not there will be a show for the presidential debate. And that, of course, drawing from the running mates presidential debate that we saw the other day. I don't know what your thoughts are on this, Ndolo, as to whether we will have NASA and Jubilee represented in the presidential debates.
Well, Michelle, I understand the flag bearer of NASA agreed that he's going to be there. And I think also Uhuru should think if he's not going to attend, that will be a blow to Jubilee. Because people need to know what the presidential candidate of Jubilee's manifesto is all about. They want to ask him questions on how he's going to govern this country, apart from what he has been doing for the past 4 or 5 years. So also, the Wananchi would like to know about what is the NASA flag bearer will tell the country on what he's supposed to do when he takes over, or when he's going to be the president of this country. So all those issues are very important for our nation, because we want to see them, we want to understand them, we want to see what they are thinking about, we want to judge them on how they are going to present themselves on that day.
Right.
Those are the issues which people would like to see and know about their candidate.
Right, and of course there's been reports that have not been substantiated yet that the president and his deputy will not be holding, coming for the debate, but holding a different event. We'll get into that in just a moment. It is now 35 minutes past the hour. I'd like to take a short commercial break here on Weekend Express. Don't go too far. The conversation continues shortly.